Hey everyone, thanks for joining us. My name is Trevor Beck. I'm the the Google evangelist here at MacEwan University. I'm also a member of our web services team, and we're going to be taking a look at doing some sessions, streaming sessions live like this, very informal, called Let's Talk Google Apps. So what we're going to be doing is basically just go through really briefly, talk about some of the different apps every day. We're going to take a look at some different samples that people are making use of, maybe give you guys some ideas, and just give you familiar with what are some of the advantages Google Apps can offer us. If you're watching on the event page, which has the little description at the bottom there, if you're interested in a bigger screen, you can click on the YouTube link in the top right, or in the bottom right, I should say. So you can click on that. That will give you guys an idea of a bigger screen to see some of the detail of the information. I've got a couple of people joining me today. I'm going to let them introduce themselves, but I am going to start with John Colson, who some of you may know from here at MacEwan. So John, do you want to introduce yourself, please?
Sure. My name is John Colson. I'm the lab supervisor for the computer science department here at MacEwan University, and I also teach educational technology and computer programming.
Thanks, John. Michael.
Hey, I'm Michael Daniels. I am down in the States. Greenville, South Carolina is where I'm located, and I work with my parents in a company called Surface Systems, and we use this collaboratively, Google, and I met Trevor on Google Plus this way, just finding out different things and using it different ways collaboratively, how all the different Google products and different things, and we were just talking about it in the green room, like with forms and things like that, gathering information and stuff. So that's what I do, and I mostly work with them. When your parents own the business, you wear a lot of hats, so there's no definite definition of what my job is. So
Chief Google Technologist, is that good enough?
That's perfect. Perfect.
Cool. As we go along through this through the presentation, if you have any questions, we've actually created a Google Doc that you can access. If you open up a new tab or a new browser window and go to macewan.ca/letstalkq, Q being questions, macewan.ca/letstalkq, you'll be entered into a Google Doc where you can put in your questions, and near the end of the session we'll go through that and answer some of the questions that we have there. Okay. What I want to do first, though, is start off and go through how we got to this place. So I'm going to do a screen share here. Okay, and everyone can see that, Michael? Okay, so let's talk Google Apps. So Google Drive is a storage unit that we get accessible to us. And Google Drive stores all sorts of different files, very similar to what Dropbox does. Now, if you're using Dropbox, I would highly recommend that you take a look at using Google Drive for a number of reasons. The first one being is Google Drive has been vetted out by MacEwan University. It's an official tool. We make use of it, where Dropbox is not. So, you know, any FOIP issues that come up, any problems with sharing and stuff like that come up, there could be problems in that area. So you're better off storing stuff in Google Drive. Dropbox also only gives you 2 gigs, where with Google Drive, as the education side of things, we actually get unlimited storage. You can throw anything and everything you want in there. Google Drive will store any type of file. So whether it's your typical Word, Office documents, Photoshop, Excel, anything, just like Dropbox, it throws it in there. It's also the storage location for Google Apps. Any files that are created with our Google Apps will get stored there as well. As I mentioned before, it is unlimited drive space, and it has been vetted by MacEwan University. So why should we use Google Apps? Well, cloud storage is the big thing. I mean, no more do we need to worry about who's got the latest version of the file. Do I need to email a file to myself at home so I can work on it there? If I email it to 5 different people, that's 5 different copies plus my original. It's cloud storage, and we all use the same file because we all have access to one single file. The other thing that's really nice about it is, unlike products like MyShare or Dropbox, is you can have a number of people accessing that document at the same time. So you'll never get locked out when someone has that file open and walks off for lunch. You have Google Search available right within your documents. So when I have Google Drive, if I need to find a certain document, I don't need to know where it lives. I just need to know the name of the title or a piece of content in that document, and Google will do the rest of it. It's easy to share. It has desktop and mobile versions of it, so I can edit these documents quickly and easily on my desktop or on my cell phone or on my tablet. It's an easy transition from Microsoft Office, and it's easy collaboration. For anyone that's made use of the track changes and suggested edits and that kind of stuff, you're going to see something that's really going to make your eyes open. I often get questions about security and privacy. The documents that we create here require you to log in with your MacEwan University login. All that login information is stored and maintained by MacEwan University, not Google. So anytime you have to log in, you come through the portal, you log in, then you get access to your data. Google does not own our data. MacEwan University still owns the data. And the terms and conditions have been met for the MacEwan University as far as privacy. One of the things that I want to point out to people about security and privacy is this statement, which is part of our terms. MacEwan University will treat your data as both private and confidential and will not examine your information without just cause or due process, nor disclose that information to a third party unless the disclosure is authorized under Alberta's Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act or any other provincial or federal law. A lot of people think that, oh, I have to have my files stored here in Canada because that way no one can get at them. That is not true. If you store files here in Canada, anywhere, be it at MacEwan, be it at some other server, anywhere here in Canada, if there is a court order generated to say, or a warrant, the person that's running that will turn your files over. So it's not just because files are stored here that we're protected. There are provincial levels and federal laws that we still all have to abide by. So how do we get access to our Google Drive? Well, first thing I want to point out is you must be logged out of your personal Gmail account. Quite often people are using their Gmail. They'll try and make use of this link in the portal, and all it's doing is just opening up Google Drive. If you're already logged in with your personal Gmail account, that's the files you're going to see. I get people quite often mixed up that say, I loaded files up here, but now they're not there. That's usually because they're logged in with their Gmail account at some point. You need a MacEwan University account, so you will be logging in. And as I mentioned, you can log in through the portal. Once you get into the portal, on the left-hand side under the Quick Access Launchpad, you'll see Google Drive. Click on that, and that gets us right into your Google Drive. The first time you ever try this, you'll probably see something like this. Google Drive will allow you to sync files directly to your desktop as well as to your, will sync files to your desktop from Google Drive in the cloud. So you've got basically two copies. I recommend that you do not do this. For the most part, we're all going to be moving and working within our browser as we access these applications and stuff. We don't really need that desktop piece there. And I've seen some people have sync issues, so it doesn't really help them out later on when they're trying to figure out where their files disappeared to. So what are Google Apps? Well, Google Apps are docs, sheets, and slides. Pretty much what you think. Docs referring to word processing, sheets referring to our spreadsheets, and of course slides to our Google's version of PowerPoint. Today we're going to look at Google Docs, and we're looking specifically at the collaboration that we're going to be able to do with stuff. Tomorrow we'll be looking at sheets and slides, and if you have time, I suggest please by all means join us because there's some really cool functions that we can do with that. So collaboration. When we create documents, we can have a number of ways that people can access those documents. First of all, I can point to, say, who can have access. So whether it's just me and two other people, anyone that has the link, anyone from within MacEwan. So I can specify who the people are. But once I've done that, I can also say what is the access level they have. So we have view only, comments, and edit. View only is great because this is a replacement for PDFs. Because our Google Apps documents are basically fancy web pages. So it's really easy for us to update stuff. And I'll talk a bit more about that in a second. I'm going to stop the screen sharing there, and I'm actually going to move to one of our Google Docs that we're going to be sharing with as soon as I find out where I put it. There we go. One moment. Can't find my Sherlock document. There he is. Okay, and gentlemen, you can unmute yourselves if you want, but I am going to keep you pinned there. So here we are is here's a document that I've actually shared with a number of people, and right now John and Michael both have access to this file. So if I did not give them any access to edit, they could easily go in and just view it. They would not be able to make any changes. They could see exactly what's going on the screen there, but they couldn't do anything else with it. That's, as I mentioned before, is the view that they can view only. But I can also give them access to edit on a document. John, I'm going to ask you to start typing in the first paragraph, and Michael, can you start typing the second paragraph?
Sure.
Now, and I've asked them to pick a color there so you can see where they've been typing. Keep on typing, don't stop. So you'll notice what's happening here is at this point in time is both these guys are actually doing their typing and going ahead and entering any content that they want. As I mentioned before, you're never locked out of the file when you have access to it if someone else is accessing it. I can actually have 50 people typing on this document at the same time. Excuse me. Guys, can you just keep on typing because I'm just going to do something. Now you'll notice there at the top of the page, I'm going to go down to the bottom of the page here. And this is the beauty of using documents that are stored in the cloud. I can go ahead and put in any kind of text I want at any point in the document. I have some things to say that are really important. While I've been doing that, the other two guys are still typing. They still have all their content going in, so we don't have to be constricted by I can only see page 1. I can see any part of that document at any point in time. Okay, guys, you can stop typing.
Okay.
Now, this is only in color just because I asked them to pick a color to show where they've typed so you as a viewer can see the different changes. So this is the collaborative part that we've talked about before, where you can create a document, even if it's an empty document, and start typing in this document. You don't have to say, hey, you start on page 1 or you do chapter 1, then email me whatever you're going to be doing. Instead of doing that, we just start with a document. We all have access to it. We all just start typing. And that makes things a lot easier. So that's when we have full edit access. But I don't necessarily want to always be typing and stuff and typing over stuff. Guys, can you first make sure that you're both in suggested mode, please?
All right.
So sometimes when we're looking at a document, I don't want to be retyping over work that's been done there, but I have a question about it. Michael, in that second paragraph where it says 1887, can you go in there and put in a question, please, or a comment? I'm going to open my window a bit here. So at any point in time, I can go in, highlight a piece of text, and leave a comment, just like we would see in Microsoft Word. The comment stays with the document, just as we have here. Now, in Microsoft Word, normally what would happen is I would get my copy, I would have sent a copy of Word out to a number of people, and they would have sent me back feedback. And then I would have to go through each document one at a time, look at track changes. And if I see a question like that, I would have to go to my email client and reply back to that to answer that question. So I can easily actually do that straight here from Google. So I just go in here, is this correct? I'll say, yes, it was fact checked. And hit reply. This information stays with this document, always. Michael, at some point in time, will get an email from Google saying, hey, Trevor's responded to this comment. Would you like to respond back? He can either respond back from the comment or from the email itself, or there's a link there that he can click on to come back to this document and reply back from the document. This is a great source for when people are working at different times on a document. So we don't actually have to be on in live time working on this document, though you can do that fairly easy. Once I've resolved this issue, I can go in and just click resolve and it disappears. Now the the comment doesn't actually disappear, it just gets put away out of sight. I can pull up comments from this document that I've been using for quite a while. Here are all the comments dating back to January, as far back as even probably September. So these are all comments that stay with the document because that's part of the history of this document and they never go away. It's also a great way when you want to get someone to sign off on a document. You can highlight a piece of text and say, would you like to sign off on this? They reply back yes, and then there was our sign off. John, can I also get you to highlight a piece of text and do some typing? Replace a piece of text somewhere. Somewhere in that first paragraph.
Is this editing or suggestion?
Suggesting still.
Okay.
So in this case, I don't necessarily want people to actually be changing my text. What happens instead, though, is we can do what's called suggested text. And in this case, we can see, that's good enough, John. We can see what John has done is he's replaced those words with, that seems like a very Victorian name. One of the advantages of this is I can now go in here and I can reply to that comment and say, do you have a better suggestion? Minus all my typos, of course. And then that will get sent off. The document itself still retains the original formatting. So if you'll notice here where it says Victorian name and consulting detective, anyone that just has view access is going to see the original. So there's consulting detective. Because the changes here have not been approved yet. Once that change gets approved, that original document will then be updated. So now when I go in and I'll just accept that change. And when I go and see what the viewer sees, we can see that that stuff's been changed. Again, emails can get sent back and forth about these changes. You can address those questions and stuff. But the nice thing is everything's stored directly here in this document. I don't actually have to leave the document at any point in time. Guys, do you got anything you want to talk or any insights you want to share?
No, the only thing I would add is that I use all of the time, because a lot of people on a spreadsheet it's a little bit different because you have it in cells, because I use spreadsheets all the time. But the same thing, and same philosophy, same theory. On things that you want to change in different cells, you can do that. Like say you're working on a formula together, or somebody's trying to figure out something, or that kind of thing. The comments are all over the place, just kind of like as opposed to along the side like they were for you. One thing that's nice is the comments. When you click the comments up at the top, you get every comment all the way back to September. That's a beauty of it too, is that you can see, oh yes, and you can go back and retrain and reteach people, say, oh yeah, here's where we did this and here's how we came up with that. Very useful tool in teaching.
One of the points that Michael made was that, especially in the sheet side of things, is that if you have a comment and you click on it, it will actually go to the cell that you've highlighted. I've worked on some really large spreadsheets with people, and sometimes they're not in the habit yet, so they start sending me an email saying, you know, such and such name is misspelled wrong, and I got to go searching for it. Whereas if they use the comment function, I just click on a link that comes to me from my email. It takes me to the document automatically. I click on that comment, and it takes me right to the cell, so I know exactly what they're talking about, so I don't have to be looking around for stuff. It sounds like not a big deal, but when you're going through and looking at a number of comments in cells and spreadsheets and stuff, or comments through a document, having to search and find stuff takes time. Whereas because these comments are off to the side or someplace where you can see them, it's really quick and easy to go through those documents. John, what about your experience with your students? Anything you want to add?
It takes a little while for the students. Maybe I shouldn't.
No, you were. There you go.
Okay, sorry. It takes students a little while to get used to the method of it. One of the things that I asked them to do in the documents when they're commenting is don't resolve anything, because I actually want to see the document progressing through the comments. And there's times when they have just deleted them all, and sometimes they actually use the live chat where I wanted them to comment instead. So there's a little bit of training going on, but it sure doesn't take them long to get up to speed on it.
Right, and it's one of the things that it's all about experience and playing with it. And I can guarantee with some of the people that I've been training, some of them just take on to it like right away, and all of a sudden they're inundating people that they're working with all these comments and stuff like that. And it's a training session. It definitely takes time to learn, but I mean, once you've learned it, the amount of time you can save. I mean, imagine, John, what would it have been like to get comments on the paper versions that you might have done, like 3 years ago even? How much time would you have spent versus what this takes?
Oh, it's tremendous, the time shaving, because you're always doing the email tag back and forth, and somebody's made a change that you hadn't seen, and they're talking about that. So when we've got it all together in one document, it's amazing. And the comments I get back from students is, I wish we'd seen this earlier. This is so much better than doing it any other way.
Good. I'm just going to check and see if we have any questions at this point in time. Nope. So that's fine. Again,
one thing
sorry,
John mentioned, if you don't mind, that John mentioned that I think is extremely helpful in teaching. Like when I'm teaching, I give a new spreadsheet to one of our foremen on the job and things like that, and ask them to use it. The collaborative chat that we're able to do, he mentioned it. There's also chat in there, not only comments but chat, where you can actually both of you go in live and work and talk about something as well, as opposed to going and typing and going out to different cells and stuff. That's a really nice thing too, which is up next to our pictures. There's a little chat thing there that you can do inside the document.
Sure, I'll do that. We have time, so let me just do the screen share of that. And I
didn't mean to get off target, but it's very, very helpful when you're trying to teach and show too.
Right. So I'm going to pin that there. Okay, so there's you guys can see my document, yes?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
So what Michael was talking about is up here, you'll see these icons. Anyone that's accessing this document at this specific time will have an icon show up here. And this here little balloon is our chat balloon. Now the chat is live. It's live. It basically is whoever is sharing this document at this point in time can chat back and forth. Guys, go ahead and throw something in there while I'm talking if you don't mind. Unlike comments, once that chat is closed off and the last person leaves the document, the contents of that chat disappears and you don't get it back. So there's the difference between doing a live chat versus going in and using the comments tool. The comments tool stays with the documents for life. Chat is really handy for this kind of stuff. I find it handy too when I'm working on a document. I really don't want to send an email to someone. I don't want to call them and talk to them. I just want to say, hey, can you address X, Y, and Z, make that happen. And I can do that quick and dirty here. I could also work on a document collaboratively by picking up a phone and talking to them just like we are now. And we're sharing this document in live time, so anything that they type I see in live time and vice versa. But sometimes it's not my mindset, and I would rather just put my head down, do my typing, and just throw in the chat in here once in a while. Again, the chat function here is not tied into the Google Plus chatting function or the Google chatting function. It's specific to this document, and it disappears when the last person leaves the document. So the next thing we're going to do is, sorry, actually, did anyone else want to address anything else before we move on?
Nope, that's all I had.
Okay. All right, then. I want to show you an example, so some samples of some stuff we're going to do. My favorite is the agenda. So files can be, folders can be shared just like files. So if I'm in a committee, I could create a folder for my committee, give everyone read access to it, and in there I can put in all my agendas and meeting minutes. And at any point in time, the person can go in and take a look at what's available. Now, here's a cool practice: is I can actually put the agenda in a document ahead of time. So here's a meeting for a bunch of people. We can see that we got some presidents and some research people and stuff who are a part of it. And here's my agenda. So I would create this document ahead of time for whatever particular date. The label of the title might be, February 15th, 2015. And I could send this out, link to this, and say, hey, everyone, here's the agenda. So everyone can come in here and take a look at that. At any point in time, if I give them comment access, anyone can put in highlighted piece of text, put in a comment, add some text to say, hey, I think we should also talk about this in the agenda and this in the agenda. Now, those would be suggested text edits and stuff. Me as the owner, I would keep control of that and say, okay, I will address it, and if I agree with it, I will add it in. So this way people can still put in feedback, but I still maintain control of what's going to be on that agenda. Right up to the last minute, I can make any kind of changes. As we walk into the boardroom or whatever meeting room, everyone who can pull it up on their tablet or their smartphone, and there's the agenda that they're looking at. So we're all up to date. Even if a change was made 2 minutes, 3 minutes before the meeting, they're going to have the most up-to-date agenda. Now let's look at the minutes. I keep the minutes in the same page, because it doesn't, or the same document, because it doesn't make sense to split them up. I'll just put them on a different page. As we go through and address each of the items, I will start typing in notes. Anyone else that's sharing this document can take a look and keep track as I'm putting in the notes. And they can even correct me as I'm going along, because they might go, oh, Trevor, I noticed you put down June 13th there. Actually, it should be June 3rd. And I'll say, okay, right, and I'll make that change, and bang, it's automatically up to date. Now, during the meeting, I'm not going to have really nice formatted minutes. I'm just going to throw in text in there just to capture everything. And then afterwards, I can go in and format it all to make it nice and pretty. But at any point in time, anyone can go in and see what the minutes of the meeting were. When the formatting's done, it's nice and pretty, I can actually go under File, and it's not shown up here, but I can email the collaborators. These are the people who have access to the documents, which in this case would be all of the committee. So I can email it to them and say, hey, I've finished making it look pretty, there's the meeting minutes. And at any point in time, that person has access to go in and access those documents. Okay, that was my piece of show and tell. Do you guys have any questions or comment on what I've shown?
Not too much from me. We're still kind of exploring it in the educational technology. I think the one thing that I get from my students is once they get into the Google world of Docs, they question why we have a learning management system, because we can do pretty much everything we want through there that we do with our learning management system. But it does add a layer of complexity to me, because if we do something in Google, they end up sharing their documents with me, not submitting them through our learning management system, and then I have to look in 2 places for them. So it's almost too good at times.
And I want to address that, what John just said, because quite often what I tell people is, Google Docs is a starting point, right? Because quite often I might be collecting text and stuff and share it with people, so I get all my information together, and then I will take that document contents and send it off to a designer to make me a brochure or a calendar or a catalog or a book or whatever. So if you think of it as the tool to collect everything, that works out great. For faculty, what I often recommend is that, because we're using Blackboard, the final step is the student must upload the document to Blackboard as a PDF, because ultimately I don't care how you get that to me, I want a PDF uploaded. So whether you use Microsoft Word, whether you use a text editor, whether you use Google Docs, whether you write it on a piece of paper and then take a picture of it, we don't care about any of that. What we care about is that final product that needs to get uploaded. And as John said, if the student says, well, I'm sharing it with you, that's good enough, well, the student can also access that document after the deadline and still update it and make changes. So I always say to people, if you're working with Blackboard, it's got to be a PDF uploaded, because quite frankly, that's how we deal with things in the real world. This is the criteria. Here's what a successful piece is, and if you don't successfully upload it, then that's a fail. Michael?
I'm learning stuff too. This is fun. I know. This is really good stuff. I don't use Docs as much as I do Google Sheets, as you know. We've had many conversations about Sheets, and so I learn something new on Docs every time I get in one. So it's more and more interesting. And I know I'm not the norm. It's usually the other way around. So I love this kind of stuff. If you want me to go ahead. I was
going to say, while we've got you there, Michael, why don't you show us whatever you want to show us as far as the collaborative that you do at your business?
Yeah, I'd love to. That'd be great. Let me first of all, let me get rid of my lower third only because it usually gets in the way with the way I share screen and everything. So let me do that real quick. I'm going to slide over. Okay, here I am. This is a spreadsheet that we use. It's a job log. This is a blank one. And basically you can see where I've entered, and if you can't see, let me zoom in a little bit so you can kind of see a little bit here. I have a guy named Chris on that date, and we put in here, and he's on the job and he's working, and I put some hours in, and it automatically puts those hours over here on the right hand side, gives me a total hours. But what's cool is when we go over to sheet 2 on the back side, his name, it automatically gets punched in, and this is where the collaborative part comes in. This is the people back at the office, the ones that do the payroll and stuff like that, automatically get these timesheets updated instantly as they're working. So when that day's over, they'll have all the complete hours for that day. That's the kind of stuff that we do. One other form I was just going to show you is a shop time clock. We have inside, when we're working inside the office and stuff, they put their time down here, and I have it, you can see, you might not be able to see. Let me push it down to the bottom here. Down at the bottom it has tabs. All sheets have tabs with each week. And I have it where it automatically, I have a time trigger that comes up and makes a new sheet every Friday. So, like I said, without getting into great detail and confusing everybody, I have all these function abilities to do with spreadsheets that we use and work every day, and that's the collaborative part that we like and use. So.
Yeah, tomorrow we're going to be talking more about Sheets, Google Sheets. There's a lot of functions that are available within spreadsheets, whether it's Microsoft Office or whether it's Google. And a lot of us, we're just not familiar with it because we've never done it. But there's lots of other cool functionalities available to us once we explore those and learn into that. And Michael's a spreadsheet fanatic, and I'm definitely a spreadsheet enthusiast. And so we can take stuff, because spreadsheets aren't just about numbers. There's lots of other things that you can do. And an example I like to do is even a simple to-do list. We've all had that piece of paper. There's a list here. 3 of us are working on it. One of us will start at the top, one of us starts at the bottom, someone starts in the middle. You go through the list, and at some point in time you all have to go, hey, what are you on? What number are you on? That kind of thing. Where if you have a shared Google Sheet, you're all accessing the same document. As you cross it off or put a check mark beside it, it's live time. So I know exactly which ones are done. So I can start anywhere. I don't have to be at the bottom or the top. That's really cool. Thanks, Michael. John, what would you like to share with us?
We're still in the incipient phases of this. We're changing our educational technology.
Oh, John, you got muted there.
So we've talked about what we could do more with Google Docs and the Google Universe, but it's in development. And I just know that I think it's going to be the backbone of the educational technology course. Because many educational districts don't have a learning management system, and much that they could do with Google Docs, and if they spread out and do things like Doctopus and that, they can almost emulate a full learning management system. So we're still experimenting with it. Also, with my programming course, I'm thinking about doing things like Hangouts for my students, so that instead of them having to come into my office and share the screen, they can do it from wherever they are, and we can go through their programs from wherever they need to be.
Okay, very cool. Anyone else got anything else they want to add or demo?
I'm good.
Okay, I'm good too. All right then. So just to recap, there's lots of cool things that can be done with collaboration. And I've running sessions every month. A Taste of Google Apps is the session that I run that gives you some hands-on stuff. You can sign up through the McEwen Staff Association under the Professional Development. So if you want more information, you can go there. The other place you can go for help is to our Google site that we have here at McEwen. And let me just, again, do a quick screen share here. So mcewen.ca/Google, that will take you to our website where there's some very basic information. But the other side of that is that there's some nice tutorials that are in there. In fact, I'm just going to pull it up really quickly just to show you some. location of those. So let me just share a different screen. So this is our Google page. This video down here at the bottom is really good. It talks all about the collaborative stuff, and it goes into a lot more detail about what we've done. It's only 3 minutes, but it kind of sums it all up in a nice, fun, cartoonish kind of way. If you want to get up to speed with Google, there's tutorials. And a really good tutorial is Google Drive Essentials Training through lynda.com. As MacEwan staff and students, we all get free access to lynda.com. That's a great tutorial. It's all video-based driven with text sideboard, so you can just go at your own pace, just do a section at a time, and it goes into a lot more depth of each of the different apps that are available to you. Another thing is tips for Google Apps. This is a blog that I run that takes some of the stuff that we've done, the Google stuff, and it gives you examples of some of the more advanced things that you can do. So for example, there's a story here on collaborative note-taking, because even students, instead of each student writing down their own notes, having to go through that, they can be collaborative, where they can have 5 people sharing the notes. The advantage of that is if I'm working on the last thing he said, the next person can be cleaning up the stuff or clarifying a point that was made maybe a minute beforehand. So rather than having 30 people have to do this, we could just have one document and make sure it's the best document possible. Storing videos on Google Drive, there's a really cool video or tutorial that I've put in there. And as I find different pieces of information that it's more than just the basics, I put that information in that blog as well. Otherwise, if you have any other questions, you can always contact me here at the office. My email address is beckt@macewan.ca, and I'm in the directory if you want to call me. Other than that, if you have a question about Google and stuff, there's so many resources available to you. Seriously, just Google it. If you have a question, how do I do, just Google it, because you're not the first person to ask those questions. So, of course, there's lots of materials out there. Anything else, guys, that you think we should sum up and address? Nope. I just take a quick look and see if we have any questions that have come in, and the answer would be no. So we apparently we did a very good job because there's no questions. Can you guys tell us where people can follow up with you if they want to get more information or talk to you? Michael, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I'm on Google Plus. Just look for my icon, Michael Daniels. It's got me in a Hangout symbol. That's in a Google Plus symbol. That's where I am all day long with my crew, with my family, with everybody, anything and everybody. Anybody who wants to get a hold of me, that's the way to get a hold of me. If you want to reach out, I'll be glad to help you out with anything. I love this platform, so I'll be glad to help.
John?
Yeah, those at MacEwan, a lot of people already know me from previous position, but I'm in computer science. I'm in the directory Coulson J6, and I'm quite willing to talk to anybody about this.
Excellent, good. And of course I mentioned before that I'm here as well. Tomorrow on Let's Talk Google Apps, we're going to be looking at Sheets, and again on Thursday we're going to be looking at Slides, so hopefully we'll see you guys then. Until then, thank you.